All right, so now we're learning the Dvar Malchut. The Dvar Malchut is a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991, and it's regarding the month of Elul. Month of Elul. And that year, Elul fell on a little bit different week than it did by us. They were reading this week's Torah portion, but this week's Torah portion was the last portion in the month of. And by us, it's not that way. By us, it's not that way. Next week's Torah portion will be the last one of the month of Av. In any case, the last portion of every month, and it was the last Shabbat of every month, is called the Sabbath of blessing. It blesses the next month. And when the Rebbe gave this speech, it was because it was the last Shabbat of the month. So it was Shabbat Mavorchin. It was the Shabbat that blessed the next month, which is Elul. And so therefore, it's speaking a lot about the month of Elul. Now, true, by us, this is really only truly relevant next week, because next week is going to be, next Shabbat will be the one that blesses the month of Elul. But the whole Torah is eternally true, and Elul is going to come eventually. It'll come 1 week a little bit later than it did back then, regarding the Torah portions that they read. Okay, so what is the Rebbe saying? What's the month of Elul? Month of Elul basically is the month of love. The month of Elul is signified by the 4 words that are in the Song of Songs of King Solomon. And the Song of Songs of King Solomon, as we know, is a love song between God and the Jews and God. Love. And the month of Elul, it can be signified by the initials of the sentence of the 4 words, Ani, Lidodi, Vidodi, Li, Elul. Ani, Lidodi, Vidodi, Li. What does it mean? I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. King Solomon is talking about God. I go to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. In other words, that we do the work. We go from below to above. We love God. God is hidden from us, and we're revealed. We're going from the revealed to the hidden. It's called from below to above. There's also another sentence which also contains these 4 letters, but not in that same order. It says, Dodi li va'ani lo. It starts off with God. God is to me, and I am to him. What's King Solomon hinting at over here? He's hinting at a relationship between God and the Jewish people that's two-way. Two-way road. One way is Ani Ladodi, that's the month of Elul. Ani Ladodi, I'm going serving God. The other way is that God is coming down to us. Dodi li v'ani lo. In simple English, it's called inspiration. God gives us inspiration. Right? The Dodi li, God is to me. He makes me feel his love. And then Anilo, and then after I'm inspired, so I realize, wow, how good God is, how wonderful God is. He's giving me everything for free. Thank you. I love you, God. You're amazing. Thank you very much. And suddenly you realize I'm talking to God over here. What is this? He's creating me. It's just amazing. So the love, it was initiated by God, though. That's Dodi li va'anilo. That's God, so to speak, coming down to us and making us feel. And the other way, that's the month of Elul, is Ani Ladodi V'Dodi Li, we going up to God. Okay, so these are 2 different types of service which are demanded from every single Jew. Now, they have to realize the Rebbe is not just talking about, this is interesting, Hasidic philosophy or how poetic it is. and so wonderful, and the longing of the Jewish people, or some sort of a beautiful Hasidic snigun about some Hasid sitting on the edge of the river or something and thinking about the Lord, or there's a, now, those things can be all true. The Rebbe is talking to me and to you. And we're Jewish people, we're the chosen people. We're chosen to tell this to the whole world. Because God is really creating everything. It's not just a philosophy or a religious idea or just a way of, cosmoconception or something like that. This is the truth. It's the fact. The fact is that we're being created. And of course, a person can say, how do you know a thing like that? But that doesn't make any sense. Oh, now you're starting to get the point. Now you're starting, at least you're asking the questions. Very good. Questions are indispensable to Judaism. If you don't have any questions, you won't be learning the Maimon. People that don't have any questions, it's pretty bad. I had a yeshiva, right? This is the yeshiva right now, what we're doing now. But there used to be people that would come from outside sometimes, and they would listen to the classes. The worst pupils of all, was a type of a pupil that he paid attention to every word, and he asked questions, and he wanted to know, and he wrote it down. Worst pupil you could possibly have. What's bad about that? People who are doing a report for university. I let them come in, but they're not interested at all in what the Rebbe is talking about. He's really interested about what I'm talking about. I believe these things, very interesting, and who knows if I even believe it. It's my job. I'm teaching these. The idea is the Rebbe is trying to say that these are not just ideas, and it's just this interesting Chabad philosophy, and it's not Kabbalah, and it's not just the how do you say, religion. This is talking about reality. Reality for all mankind. One God, he's creating everybody, and everyone will appreciate it. That's the idea of Moshiach. Everyone will appreciate. This is the writings of the Moshiach. That's why the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Moshiach. He's educating the whole world to things that no one is educating the world to. Namely, not just that God exists and God cares about it, that we can repay God, ani ledodi. And when we start thinking about it, then we repay God with genuine interest and how do you say, life. It becomes so. This is supposed to be the basis, the framework of life of every human being. Ani ledodi v'dodi li. I am to my beloved, to God. I appreciate God, and then God, he comes to me, or the other way around. First of all, God comes to me, dodi li, and ani lo. Okay. Cave insists that these two ways of serving God, of ani ledodi dodi li, that I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. In other words, I go up, God, so to speak, comes down. This is in the letters of Elul, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed, I am L'David Dodi Li. This is the month, also it's the month of Cheshbon, I'm sorry. This is the month of accounting. What do you mean accounting? What type of accounting? If God is really so good, and if God is really so wonderful, then have I acted properly? Have I acted accordingly? Have I returned to God what I owe him? That's also called doing tshuva. Returning to God what you owe him. What do you owe him? Everything. That's what it means, making an accounting. Have I returned all of my debts to the creator of the universe? Of course not. But at least we make the accounting. And God is not that demanding. If you don't repay him, you see what happens if you do sins, you don't repay God. You see what happens. What happens? Nothing. You succeed, you have a big house, you have a big this. You're healthy. But on the other hand, you gotta be a mensch. If you owe somebody money, you should pay him back. I know people that they borrow money, they don't pay back. I know people, there are people like that. They borrow money, they don't pay back. Huh? And they say, oh, come on, you got money. You say to the person, listen, you really can't pay back. Okay, if you can't, then no problem. I'm not pressing you. But you do owe me the money, and I'm not going to take you to court. I'm not going to. Yeah, I'll give out that. There are people like that. Says the Rebbe, everybody's like that. We owe God so much. Do we pay back? Yeah, I'll pay. If you're lacking something, God, I mean, you really need me to, you need it. God says, listen, it's my business. I'm giving you for free. If you don't pay me back, I'm not going to get mad. I won't do anything, but be a mensch. That's the month of Elul. We have to make an accounting. Therefore, Mistaber Lomer, it's logical to say is if a prati association, there must be all these things also of every single Jew in the month of Elul. How much I've given to God, avoda from below to above, or dodi li, what's God given to me? We'll see how. Even though the general, this speaks, I am to God. This is talking about our service. And dodi li, this is talking about what God gives. So how can I make an accounting of what God should have given me more? We'll see. Hey, because God, Rotza Shekal, Hamshachas, because God wants everything that comes from above should be Yum Shecho, should be by means of the service. Me'ayin Zelamata from below. It's supposed to be one big sentence, but they cut it off. I don't know why. So yeah, it's true. That's right. I mean, how can I make an accounting about what God gave me? Everything He gave me is a free gift. It says, yeah, but the fact is that God doesn't want it to be a free gift. He doesn't like that. God wants that everything that we have is because of our service of Him. That's what He wants. We don't care if God pays us back or not. All we're interested in is serving God, but God likes that. And God wants that you should be, how do you say, not selfish. In fact, that's called being genuine. And being genuine, that's what evokes God's blessings. But it's supposed to all depend on us. Okay, we'll see. So therefore, we're going to make an accounting on what God gave us, because what God gave us is supposed to be because of what we do. We'll see. By means of this, the service of a Jew. There is something like Vadodi Li, because our service is something like God giving to us, because everything God gives us to us, He wants it to depend on our work. Serving from above to below. Harizeh, this is a vessel to draw down Dodi Li, to draw down simply. As a rusa de leila, an arousal from above, to call him shachas mekodesh baruch hu below. Okay, listen, everything we have is a gift from God. Right? You're watching this program. You probably have eyes. You probably have ears. You probably have understanding. Those things cannot be taken for granted. Those are amazing miracles. What did we do to deserve those things? Nothing. It's not so. It's not so. God gave us eyes. He gave us ears. He gives because He wants us to serve Him with these things. So it's like, how do you say, He gave us a loan? Huh? What do we do to deserve a loan? Don't worry. We'll pay back afterwards. God gave it to us first of all, and now we use it. It's a loan to start a business. What's the business? Our life in this world. So it comes out that everything we have is really to serve the Creator. So all of the gifts that God gave us from above to below, Dodi Li, God is to me, that comes because of our work from below to above, or on the, how do you say, on the promise and the hope that we will serve God from below to above. We can say that these two things are in the month of Elul. Ani ladodi v'dodi li, I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. This is hinted at in the 2 days of Rosh Chodesh Elul. Rosh Chodesh Elul is always 2 days. The month of Elul, since that the month of Menachem Av is always full. When a month is called 2 days, so the last day of the previous month is the 30th day. We tack an extra day on the previous month, 30th day. So that becomes 1 day of the next month, is the 30th day of the previous month. That's called Rosh Chodesh of the next month. So if so, B'Lashon HaKasuv, it says, B'Rosh Chodshechem, the beginnings of your month, Roshé. So this month of Elul has 2 beginnings. The last day of the previous month is called the first day of Elul, and the first day of Elul, that's called the second day of Elul. That's called the second day of Rosh Chodesh. I'm sorry. Kikama Rishon Russian Inon Lisiero, because there are how many beginnings are there to the month or to the moon? Train, there's two of them. But call Yurchan every single month, there's two. What's the two? Ani Ladodi and Ladodi Li. Befrat, and especially when we're stressing that when Rosh Chodesh and this year it comes on Shabbos and Yom Rishon, which this year does not do so, is not by us. What did we say before? It's on Thursday and Friday, I think, this year. But by then, it was Shabbos and Sunday, Yom Rishon, the first day of the week, and the day of Shabbat, which is before it. This hints at two orders of time. Yom Rishon, this is the beginning of the days of the month from below to above. We count Yom Rishon. Shabbat, this is the gift from above to below. Kafi, according to that, like it was in the beginning of the creation, on the first day of creation, the first day of Ma'aseh Bereshis, and on Shabbos, on the first Shabbos, the first day of creation, this was Tchilas Abriya. This is the beginning of the creation, and this is the beginning of time, of the days of the week from below to above. Right? Count 1, 2, 3, more creation, more creation, more creation. The first day, the second day, the third day, until the sixth day. This is going from below to above. God made more of the world, right? He made the fish, he made the birds, he made this, animals, made man. But then, similarly, every single week, the first day is from below to above. Today is the first day of creation. Right? Why do we count the days, first day, second day, third day? According to Judaism, we are 5,700, what is it, 83 years. So if you multiply, we should multiply that by 365. And that's the number of days that there are, right? It should be the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day, eighth day, ninth day, 10th, 100 days, 1,000 days, 5,000 days, day 50,021, day 50,040. But why do we keep repeating Chozer v'Chalilo up to 7, and then we go back to 1 again? Why? Because the fact is that the order of creation was a godly thing. The reason that God created the world at all in 7 days was because it was according to godly principles. And that's principles designed from below to above, that the world became more world. On the first day until Shabbat, there's more and more world from below to above. And then the day of Shabbat, that's from above to below. And the eating and the completion of the day of Shabbat, this is by means of the 6 days of work that we had before. In addition to that, there's also another way from above, that's from below to above, right? More world, more. Then there's also another order in the creation of the world from above to below. Even though the whole existence of time is a creation, namely, Shizman Nivra Barega Rishon, the Yom Rishon, the Ma'aseh Bereshit. When was time created? On the first instant when God created the world. And I mean, in a way, you can sort of answer, that sort of answers the classic question that everybody asks. You know, who created God? Who created God? So you say, what do you mean? There has to be something before God? Well, before God created the world, there was no such thing as before. There was no before. There was not one thing creating another thing, or what. Then there would be an order. There would be before and after. And before God created the world, there was no before. I don't know if that really answers, because there's all these spiritual levels that are called before, but it's not really before in time. So when did time begin? Time is a creation. Before the first instant of the creation of the world, 5,783, soon as in another month, it's going to be another month and a half. It's going to be 84 years. Before that, there was no time, there was no space, there was no consciousness, there was no creation, there was no existence. God created all existence. That's what it says in the book, Shakot and Bria, that before the creation of the world, it was Shabbos. So you do it that also before the creation of time, there was like the pattern of time, the order of time. It's an argument in Kabbalah also, The first day of Shabbat, this is before time of the 6 days of creation. This blesses all the 6 days of creation. So to speak, before time was created, there was Shabbat, pure godliness. That's something like that is going to be also in the raising of the dead. There's not going to be any time. This is the time from above to below, from Shabbat. Instead of the week ending with Shabbat, the week begins with Shabbat. How? Before God started creating the world, everything was Shabbat. Shabbat was completeness. And then that came down into the 6 days of creation. And just like it was in time, then there's time from below to above. You start off with Yom Rishon, Sheni, becomes more and more world. Same thing is also there, that's from below to above. There's also from above to below. God is creating it. It started off with Shabbos, God created, and then God gave more, and God gave more. So that's also from above to below. Also is the difference between the first day, Yom Rishon, and Shabbos in their service. On the days of the week, Yom Rishon of the week, we begin to serve God in the weekdays. Go to business, you have to open your job, people come, they drive, make money. This is the going from what's called from easy, kal el kavod, from light to heavy, more and more world, from below to above. Beginning on Sunday, Yom Rishon, this is the easy work, easiest. And then afterwards, Olim, you go to harder work and harder work. The second day, Shabo Nivro Machloket, on the second day, it says there was created, you say dissension. There were two things. God made a firmament, a division. And then afterwards, on the days came after that, that's the completion of the work on Yom Shishi, on Friday. Everything created was created little by little until there came more and more and more creation. Till Friday, Yom Shishi was created man. And that was the completion of the creation part. And what really put the final touches, that's Shabbat. That's serving from below to above, starting off with the first day of the week. But then they're serving from above to below. Like we said, that Shabbat was before the world. If we start off from Shabbat that was before the world, then that is from above to below. In the beginning, completion, pleasure, eating, meat, drinking wine, and etc. And then comes down from that, the days of the week. This is drawn down, perfection is drawn down to the days afterwards. So if we work from below to above, it's working from imperfection to perfection. Shabbat is perfection. But if we're working from the other way around, from above to below, then it's talking about we began with perfection and we're trying to draw this perfection into the 6 days of the week. 2 ways of serving God, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's do the Yom Yom.